sales is not something someone chooses, like in kindergarten, thinking about, hey, I want to be a salesman, or
Yeah. Today with us is Robertas, the co-founder and chief revenue officer of Repsense. Repsense is an AI startup focused on agencies, especially in the public relations field. And we're super excited to have you today on board. Very excited to deep dive in your experience. Your adventures are, from gaming, then to 3D, then to AI. So a lot of to talk about, and very excited to start.
hey Dom, thanks for a nice intro. So the funny thing is that actually we were an AI startup before ChatGPT era, so that kind of blew us up quite a bit, and made
Yeah.
all the conversations a lot easier, which actually proves the point that, when you're talking to someone on a topic that's already widely known, you have much more acceptance, you're received much better, and it's easier to get your points across. So,
Yes,
but it's
exactly.
it's been a very very fun and crazy journey, and I'm pretty happy that we had a chance to work together on the 3D modeling side, which was also a very fun experience.
Let's start with you. So you started in the corporate world,
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
transitioned to the startup. How that transition started in the first place, and how you ended up in the sales at all?
So I guess sales is not something someone chooses, like in kindergarten, thinking about, hey, I want to be a salesman, or
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that's how it happens. Usually it's you kind of fall into it, and then if it works for you, you can stick out there for a long time. So I started quite a while back. I started 22 years ago in B2B sales. So it was a crazy time here in Lithuania as well, just budding capitalism, and my first job was very interesting. So I was still at university, and there was this company that was kind of known very well for providing consulting, tax consulting, accounting, all of that. I just wanted a job during my university time, just to make some extra money, to have some spending cash, walk around money, like to go out sometimes and whatnot. And I went to job interview. And basically, the job interview was okay. Look, sit down. Here is the phone number. Here is the yellow pages. Here is kind of a sheet of paper with kind of costs per square inch for advertising space. Please start calling and show us what you can do. And that's how I started. It was pretty intense because there was no training. We didn't know how to do it. We just try to be charming and talk to people and try to understand what they want and why they should they be buying it. And the main kind of difference is, I guess, not really popular anymore in Lithuania, but at that time, commission were probably 95% of my salary, if not more. So we really,
Wow.
really had to grind to earn the money. But the commission was fair, and we got paid pretty well. And that's kind of how I started out. And from that, I journeyed through numerous bigger companies, and then started working with international corporations, which was a very good experience to learn selling outside Lithuania. Talking to uh, actually people that work in Fortune 500 companies. I had IKEA, Mars, Danone, and such companies as my clients. And that's basically when I started to understand, that you really need to replicate your success somehow, right? You need to kind of, because some salespeople in my team are successful and some are underperforming, and that's kind of when we started implementing things like personal plans, and probably the funny thing here is that these personal plans were very very basic Excel sheets calculating how many calls you need to make to get X amount of opportunities to get to a sale, right? It was very basic, but the thing is, nobody was using that because though CRMs were around since I started work, nobody was using them actually until they became integrated with outreach technology, with the VoIP phone, with email. Because while people need to type in every email, type a note for every email, for every call, for everything, they just really don't want to do it because they already kind of have their hands full with sales, and then they have to give notes, right? So nobody's doing that, and then you have like trash data which you can't
Hmm.
really use, and then everybody's just faking some type of reports that nobody believes in, right? So
Sounds familiar.
yeah, you're kind of stuck in that stuff, right? So, but actually, when Salesforce and others started integrating with email, first of all, and then phone, like that, you don't need to actually, now you really don't even need to punch in the phone number, right? You just click on the phone number, but then you really, at least you really don't need to kind of log the conversation or log the email. Then you start getting better data, and then you can start to actually optimize and apply a scientific method to it. So I moved from the international corporate world because I got pretty bored with how slow things are taking off. You know, because my objective and my team's objective was generating revenue, right? Getting increasing the client value. I was working with key accounts, right? So and the team was working with key accounts as well. So and we needed to kind of increase revenue every year, make sure that the subscriptions don't drop and so forth. But bringing in innovation was pretty difficult because still it's a multinational corporation. We are only a kind of Eastern European office, right? So to kind of expand that idea, it would take like a very long political campaign to do that instead of bringing in something that works right now and start doing it, right? So that's why the startup ecosystem was so attractive to me, because yes, you are always under resourced and you have always too much to do, but you actually drive the change. So if you want to do it, just start doing it, and if it works, it becomes a process. If it doesn't, it doesn't, right? So you don't need to go through all the bureaucracy. So I merged my hobby, which was gaming, right, with work. I met these amazing guys from Canada that invited me to help them open up the European market, and I stuck out there for better part of 6 years. It was a very interesting experience as well. But then kind of decided to change my work-life balance a little bit, because working with when your whole team is on the west coast and have like 9 hours time difference is a bit taxing, and then your social life suffers. So I decided to kind of move to the European field again, which and that's actually when I started working at a company where I met Dom. And Dom was a very good colleague because he was very scientific, very good approach on optimization, doing the SDR part for my key accounts team. So it was, I got all my expectations filled and kind of knew why we're doing certain things, why we have less leads or more leads, and what's happening, and why you do it. And with all the new tools, with all the automation tools, that kind of my sales dream became possible, because that's how I saw this. Like every action should be taken as an experiment, right?
Exactly.
So you write up kind of your initiative. Basically, it's like I like the OKR kind of
Hmm.
template, right? So you have an objective and you write out the initiatives, and basically, let's say you decide to go out with opt-out subscription, or as some type of offer for a specific industry, right? And you kind of before you even start, you already kind of put down what you consider success, what you consider failure, because you need to know when to turn off the switch and stop it, right? And you measure every iteration of that, and this actually allows you to go from getting below 1% response rates to like 10% response rate, right? You're optimizing, but the thing is, you really have to be very detailed about it. So if you are approaching Poland, right, you would have, let's say, you take 10 industries, break them down in all those leads in two different parts, approach some of them with, let's say, Polish language text, the others with English, and check for each industry which works better, and then draw conclusions from that and kind of iterate on the next outreach. So basically, to open up, let's say, one country, you might need 100 different outreach scenarios, right? But that's the cool thing, because you are really can judge the team's effort and your efforts by the output and not the outcome, which you really don't control
Exactly. Yeah. A/B test is the best, as we say. You know,
that much.
it tells the reality. So, and actually, I saw, like you've been on the both sides of the fence. You've been like the sales exec yourself, and then you manage a quite big team. And they see a lot of guys struggle like doing that transition from being this sales guy and then managing sales guys. Do you have any like a kind of tips or tricks when you had that transition? Like, what kind of mindset did you like have, and what helped you to kind of to make it that successful transition?
I struggled with that a lot. No, really, because if you are successful at sales, right, you want to clone yourself.
Yeah,
But unfortunately, that's not how the world works, right? You are
exactly.
working with people with personalities, with different traits and completely different strengths. So what really helped me is to look at this as I look at my kids, right? So you relearn the world through their eyes, because completely different things are important to them, and you can't be hard or with your own hard rules. So again, you really need to create an environment where you can do experiments and measure, and allow people to do experiments and measure. That's the only way you can kind of go with that, because I tried being okay, everybody can be so self-reliant and independent, you just bring me your plans and execute and do it. 50% of the team was very happy, 50% of the team was experiencing a lot of stress because of that. Then I tried completely different approach. Okay, now I'm telling everyone what to do, and again, 50% of the team are happy, 50% of the team are not. So it's actually, really allowing everyone to create their own experiments, right? And not don't have prejudice. Wow, that's really hard to do. But actually, don't have these preconceptions. That you
Hmm.
know what's right, and you hear an idea, you want to shut it down. No, allow it to grow. That's kind of how you do it. Plus, all the soft skills, you need to allow to happen, because work is still. Oh, well, we're talking about startups, so yeah, no life balance, only work balance. So
Let's be honest.
probably, yeah, let's be honest about that. But if you are invested in the company, right, you can expect this from yourself, but can't expect it from the team, right? So so all in all, it's very hard. Not really, don't really know very good tricks on that, but
Hmm.
through experiments you can kind of get there. My only and main thing that I was happy about is when you are gathering your own team, when you're assembling your kind of team of superheroes, you actually do most of the work during that time. So you have the people you want, and not be complacent about that, because especially in revenue part, we are focused on revenue, and now I need to hire someone. Just let's do it faster, not involved. Don't do this mistake. Maybe that would be my advice.
Yeah, exactly. And let's touch a bit about hiring. This is a big topic in sales. So we all know that sales guys are really good in the hiring process because they are able to sell, and they are able to sell themselves very well. What is your go-to hiring tactics and questions, and how you approach that in general?
So when I have the luxury of time and space, I really like the method that big corporations use, big progressive corporations use. I actually like to do to have multiple people involved in the process, and let's say I would do 5 questions that everyone asks, and then everyone puts in additional 3 questions of their own, and everyone ranks the answers from 1 to 10, and get like a more of a subjective understanding of the person.
Okay,
That's
interesting.
kind of how I like getting through the interview stage of
Got it. And what about tasks? Do you give some kind of task to do, like some kind of strategy to craft, email to craft? Do you do any practical, kind of approach here?
Well, I think these things are now dead in the water with ChatGPT available.
Exactly.
Really, you don't need that. What you need to do is get people talking about their successes and failures,
Hmm.
and that's kind of you can see if they're faking it and not really opening up about something really bad or not. But I think these type of tasks are obsolete right now. I
Yeah.
think right now we should best understand, because we have so many tools to automate everything, that the only thing we need to do is actually put in the work, like actually use them to be one man that can do a 10 people's job, right? So that, and I think the best trait is like someone that can be committed, someone that is responsible. That's what you should be looking for. And I am not aware of tasks that I could give to understand that, but that's why you have a trial period.
Yeah, let's talk about that as well. So you made the hire, and sometimes you feel like in your gut that probably this is a bad hire, but you're not sure if I should wait or should I kind of, fire right off the bat. Like, what is your approach? How long you wait for the sales guy to start to perform on the reasonable level, and when you draw the line and say, okay, this is it. I'm not going to continue.
So first of all, right, you don't wait, right? And if you look at top CEOs here in Lithuania who've posted about that a lot, like Rokas Madonis or Vitas Paukštas, right? In this part, you need to understand. You need to start looking at this again as an experiment. I'm repeating that theme, but you need to understand how long actually the sales processes, how long usually people need time to get onboarded, and how to optimize that process. So what you need to give them to get there, right? So, and again, you are not waiting for them to start selling, because you are waiting for them to start doing measurable output, right? So do the calls, do the research, approach the leads, create the sequences, optimize, right? So you are looking at those things. And then you get at the subjective part of the closing, right, where the empathy gets involved and so forth. But probably you shouldn't have hired that person in the first place if they don't have that, right? So I mean, what and this I started quite long ago. My mentor from the esports days, actually, we've had this idea of PIP, which is a personal improvement plan. If
Hmm.
someone is underperforming, right, you create this personal improvement plan together, and get the person to put a lot of input into that plan as well. So what they think is achievable, how they're going to achieve, and break it down to actually very well measurable metrics. And I had people who actually found it very helpful and became good, and found people who said after 3 months of that PIP, at the end of the day, I'm sorry, I know I failed, and I understand that you need to let me go. So I mean, again, it's an experiment. You measured it, you understood, and actually, you helped maybe someone to develop themselves, to see where they're lacking.
Exactly. Maybe there's not a fit in the first
Yeah,
place, and you just help the person to kind of move forward. So
and
yeah,
not everyone can be at sales. It's either very strong people or very damaged people who can't live without being people pleasers, right? And they need to do all that thing, right? So it's
yeah.
either one or the other, but not everyone is ready for that. Not everyone can deal with so much rejection.
Exactly. The rejection is the topic. So, how you handle rejection? Like, do you have any frameworks that you kind of do inside your mind, or like?
So when I was young and handsome and full of myself, I really didn't care about that. I felt untouchable. But then, you get ground down, bit by bit.
Exactly.
So you always need to remember that they're not rejecting you. Though it feels like that, and bad managers can bring that in as well, right? By grinding on top of that, you can get into this kind of very vicious cycle, and then you stop performing and stop doing your tasks. So what I found, and it helps even people who are really in the dumps, is actually taking your plans and putting them into daily, very structured things. And doesn't matter. Like not a win, maybe getting a meeting is enough for this week to get better. Create very small, achievable goals. Break down into very, very small steps and achieve them. They can even be without a result, but they can be with kind of just do 10 emails or something like that, very small, and you start feeling better about achieving those, and then you can kind of get out. So that's probably the modus operandi for someone in the dumps in sales, because otherwise you get into the vicious cycle and you stop doing the activities, you stop getting, you're becoming desperate, you're hanging on your free open opportunities that should close this month, and they're not moving, and you're not adding anything else to the pipeline. You start to reek of desperation, and that's just getting worse.
Yeah.
Every time you lose a big deal, your first reaction is, ah, damn it, I'm not gonna do it anymore, right? And instead of it should be do three more emails, do three more calls, because you just lost an opportunity. You need to replace it, but not you get frustrated and stop doing something for a day. So that's kind of counterintuitive, but that's how should be doing
Trust the process, you know.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Got it. And so you saw not one, not two, like three startups already, right? Maybe four. And
Yeah.
and you, of course, you saw, the low performance, the high performance. So what kind of things, like the top leadership team of the startup, maybe CEOs, did to enable the sales team to perform at a high level, and what was like main mistakes that kind of brought everything down, like if you could say like the most common ones that you saw in your experience.
So I'd say I had a lot of time with very technology heavy companies, right? Which really don't put enough stock into the sales and marketing part, and that's probably the problem. So maybe either a it's too early to start doing sales, product is not ready,
Yeah,
or you don't have the finality of the product, and try to go out there. That can be very draining for the sales team, because they really are not fully armed to go out and sell. So I mean, my idea would be prepare your team, let them go out, let them be the boots on the ground when they really have kind of the working ammunition. So that's kind of that, and then otherwise, if something's working, you will always get the budget, right? But you need to go out with something that actually sells. And my kind of insight from a lot of things that I've saw and read and experienced myself is that actually before doing anything sales and marketing related, do the interviews without any without any goal of getting a sale. Go and talk to 100 different people, to 100 potential clients, and get their thoughts on that. That will help you kind of the usually startups, low resources, don't have time to do it, skip the step, and then you'll jump into the battlefield without your boots.
absolutely. Yeah, makes sense. And people usually forget in the startup, or they build the perfect product, but you need to just to go to speak with a bunch of people and to find
Yeah.
if your product is a fit in the first place, if they find the value, and then to kind of put their like a kind of the most ugliest version of MVP there, and to kind of see what happens. Yeah, but definitely it's a good
Yeah.
insight. And what kind of, so you were in sales for 20 plus years. You saw, fire and water. And what kind of trends do you see now? Like where everything is moving? Like you said that there's a lot of automation
Yeah.
technology involved. Like what kind of major kind of changes you see currently in sales?
That's actually how I started understanding PR and reputation
Mm-hmm.
through the kind of perspective of sales, because more and more people don't want to be bothered by active sales, right? So research shows that 75% of B2B buyers actually do research on Google before they buy a product. right? So a lot of people really don't need to be prodded. They will find it if they really have a need, right? So kind of looking at that, you need to understand, and that's how I see. You need to build a reputation for your product. So either your issue or topic or your product. Let's say if somebody is searching for your company, say you send out someone to Germany to a trade show, and they give out their business card, they talk to someone, and that person Googles them, and they find, I don't know, information in Lithuanian about your company, right? That's really not helping your case at all, right? So you need to look at B2B more at B2C, but just a lot more focused, right? So you need to use all the ammunition. You need to build out all the profiles, all the social media, make sure that it's discoverable, make sure that it builds out the reputation of your company, right? When somebody's looking for it. Because if they're looking for your company on Google and find bad reviews, it's something in a strange language, some strange articles, you're not helping yourself. So that's kind of how I'm looking at what we do at Repsense, right? As we kind of built out the reputation. How I'm seeing it's like your search result page, the full thing is actually like your business card. Is the first piece of information somebody interacts with. So I want it not to be the last. So I want people to actually look at it, and just from seeing that list of links, just to feel confident that this is a really good company, it's solid, and it does what it does. Then they can do the research or go through performance marketing or whatever channels. But really, I wanted to build out the reputation starting from there. So that's kind of what we're measuring, and I'm seeing actually quite a lot of interesting things, because share of search is actually a metric that really, really well represents your market share. And yeah, your kind of online reputation, your Repsense index represents what opinions people are forming, and it can really, like, we really, really see a lot of things that slip through the fingers, especially if you consider working internationally, the amount of data you need to process. So I'd say that's the main change. It's becoming more like B2C. You need to make those guys do the research and arrive at the conclusion that I want to buy from these guys. I want to test these guys out, and then get a demo, get a call, whatever. Because getting a demo these days, it's like you're asking for a lot. You're asking for someone to interact 1v1, and you're asking for someone to donate half an hour of their time, right? And to be attentive. So that's a big ask, I'd say.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what about channels? Like bunch of people, like say email is dead, call is dead. Maybe less of the people say that LinkedIn is dead. Maybe that's like very promising channel to work on. But like, what is your take on the channel itself? Do you see any kind of major changes that you saw that, for example, works in your case? Well,
So if you want to really, really move things along fast, right, I'd say go live events. Go to your industry live events, talk to people, build rapport. Much easier. Why? You don't lose confidence because you don't spend all this time building out email kind of chain, right? Doing 2% conversion rate, like sending out millions of emails and losing faith. Everything works. You just need to know which industry is more susceptible to which channel, right? Take an old school industry. Let's say if you would be working, selling, I don't know, selling due diligence product to a bunch of IPO bankers, right? I think calling is very good, right? Or even going and joining a country club somewhere, meeting those people directly. But old school methods. In a very, very, you working with very young companies. Obviously, you work on kind of performance marketing, getting those people in, creating content, all of that. So it's really a wide range. I mean, you need to choose your ammunition. That's why we have tools for automation. That's why we test. That's why we kind of find out what works or not. If you will not test phones, you will not know if phone calls are working for your industry or not, right? If you just say no, they're not working because actually it's pain in the ass to do 100, calls a day, right?
I tried to do 100 cold calls. I didn't book any demos. It doesn't work, right? It's dead.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
kind of, for
Yeah,
one industry it might, for another it might not. But I'd say
exactly.
if you want to do a fast impact, spend money, go to biggest trade show, sit at the bar, Get invited to every networking event, to every after party. Sit at the bar. You see someone you don't know, you say, "Hi, can I buy you a beer? Talk to me." Bring home 120 business cards. That's something you already have a rapport with, and warmer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's a completely different story. When you looked at the eye, shook the hand,
Yeah. I
it's
mean, do both. Do
yeah,
your outreach alongside that, But try this. Maybe I think that's kind of the if you're really feeling down and you want to get fast results, go to an event, talk to people. At least you will feel that you did something useful because you already talked to someone instead of looking at emails not being replied to you. Right?
exactly. Like what we do additionally is like we pre-schedule a bunch of calls before the conference. So we run the outreach, but for exhibitors and for visitors of the conference. So basically, you receive like 30% of your private rate because people, obviously they see that you're going to be in the same event, and then you just don't need to think like who to meet. You
Yeah.
just go, right?
Completely agree. I always start planning 3 months in advance before I go to an event. I start booking meetings. Thank God now they have networking apps and stuff. So that's even so much easier to do it. But I usually book the meetings, and during the day you have one type of meeting. Then basically, and if you're going the first time to the conference, maybe you don't get that many meetings in advance. So what you do is every night you go to all the dinners, all the events that you can, go through all the hotels at 3 a.m., meet people, drink, talk, get to know them, and then next day you have meetings with them.
Absolutely, especially
You
if
need to
like
you
three
need to
days
hustle.
conference. Yeah,
It's
you need to hustle. Exactly. People
hustling
forget
is
that.
not sending a bunch of emails. A hustle is a bit different thing.
It's hard, and
No,
usually
it's
need to drink a lot.
creative, and
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, and the sales, you don't have universities, the master degree of sales. Maybe you have, but it's worthless in my mind. And
unfortunately, we don't have this. Though I think we might. It would be good and possible to start doing sales operations as a
oh
statistician
yeah,
data science thing.
that's definitely that's a fit. And RevOps, it's a big thing right now.
Yeah,
And but yeah, usually no, people need to learn that on their own. They need to either have good mentor, good manager to go to work in the good companies, or to hustle. And but like, what is your go-to learning material in sales? Do you have any favorite podcasts? Do you have any books that you recommend for sales guys?
I really, really rarely use those. No, I try to listen to some people because sales is mostly about philosophy, and mindset. So really, it's more general things. Whatever clicks you, whatever gets you up in the morning, whatever gets you motivated, right? For me, sometimes it might be something super funny, like Joey Diaz, screaming into the TikTok about doing 22 push-ups, on Monday, having your goals written down, or it might be something very, very sophisticated, or or stupid. On the other hand, it doesn't really matter. It's whatever makes me rethink and refocus. But sometimes, at least once a year, I find like a book, or a podcast that is relevant to me. Usually, it is when I try to learn a new avenue of sales. Let's say I want to understand how SEO works, or I want to understand how specific automation works, or specific tool works. Then that's kind of the technical or professional literature and podcast that I watch. But for sales guys, I think everything that makes you feel, like Wolf of Wall Street, everything that makes you feel like Tommy Maguire, right? Like if you're fired up, you will go and you will do the most boring tasks, and you will deliver. And I don't think, and maybe like Buddhism or whatever can inspire you to do that, and go ahead, do it. But I think it's more into the psyche part, not the methodology. Like not the guys that about the priest that sells a Ferrari. Not that.
You need to find your own, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever works for you, whatever
Hmm.
keeps you, going, whatever makes you feel invincible that day.
Got it. Okay, Robert. So thanks a lot for great insights and for amazing conversation.
Thanks, Dom. If you're back in Vilnius, just reach out. Okay?
Okay, cool. See you.
Cool. See you.